Hi, this is Jim Erickson. I'm editorial director at Information Management Magazine, and I'm here with two great resources to our industry at the Data Warehousing Institute Conference here in San Diego. Paul Kautza, Philip Russell, head of research at TDWI, and we're at the San Diego event. There's a lot of activity, a lot of instruction going on, and a lot of talk about Agile BI again. This is a term I know you guys have kind of centered around and built as sort of a gathering point for, I think, what is a requirement, a business requirement, actually, that needs to be supported in IT and by pretty much everybody in the organization, and that's agility, time to market, the ability to adjust, deal with dynamics in the market, and so forth. So, and I think it's a great gathering, point to talk around this topic. So, Paul, I know you've sort of taken the Agile ball and run with it in a way. You're kind of breaking it out a little bit in terms of how it applies to different parts of the structure. So what's that about?
Well, about 18 months ago, I had Ralph Hughes, who's the author of the Agile Data Warehouse, had him come do one class for me on a Friday because I had heard a lot about Agile. It was starting to pick up some speed. I had 75 people on a Friday sit all day for Ralph. So I said, maybe I have something here. So we started doing that over the next few conferences. In San Diego last year, we actually themed the conference about building an Agile BI environment. But I looked at it a little broader because Agile software development has been around for a long time, right? Well, if you just take the software development side, you flap that over to business intelligence or data warehousing, you probably aren't going to be real successful with it. You have to look at it much more broadly. So I like what Ken Collier said about being Agile versus doing Agile. If we just do Agile, we're probably going to be less successful than if we be Agile. So I started looking at how can I look at Agile as a word versus a methodology.
Right, okay.
So I have basically 4 pillars, and the first one is the Agile Methodology, where I give Ralph Hughes, Ken Collier, Larry Burns, the people that are teaching for me, the deference to go through the methodology portions of Agile. But then I look beyond that and say, where do we need to be more Agile? Because one of the things that Agile doesn't do a very good job at is look at data modeling. So underneath that first pillar, I've also got data modeling and how do we be more Agile in our modeling. And Len Silverstein has actually developed a new class for this conference called Building the Agile Data Model. So the first really is Agile Methodology. But then as we look at how do we just be more Agile, we look at analytics. How do we be more agile in how we deliver analytics to our business users? We talk about dashboards and scorecards or canned reports. Those probably aren't really agile to our business users. So how do we get more agile in our delivery of our analytics? And then we look, the next one to me, which is the most important one, is the agile organization.
Right.
We talk about one of the pillars of agile is collaboration. And one of the things I think that makes it successful is they truly do collaborate between business and IT. So how do we be more agile across our organizations and get them working together? And the fourth one is really our infrastructure. How do we be more agile in our infrastructure? Look what's happened over the last 3 to 5 years. We've got cloud computing, we've got software as a service, we've got platform as a service, we've got all these different services and components. So how do we be more agile in how we implement our BI data warehousing solutions? And by doing that, the cost, if you look at the cost components of cloud and all these pieces, it actually kind of levels the playing field and allows more small to medium-sized businesses actually be more competitive more quickly because they don't have to build that infrastructure internally. So I'm taking a rather broad view from an education standpoint across Agile. So that's kind of where I'm going from an education standpoint.
Yeah, and I think you're really, flying that flag pretty well. And I think part of what you're talking about too are some of the really emergent soft skills and crossover skills between business and technology. We've always taken the model of business plus IT, where maybe we can just separate the I and the T also and focus around the information. So I think it speaks to a lot of that, foot in 2 camps, the collaborative states, but also kind of some of the morphing roles. Philip, you're a very methodological you're a methodology guy. You've done a lot of research and writing, and you're very, very steeped in this topic. Where is the tip of the spear now? Is it in collaboration and in alignment, or the tools? Where are you focused?
Yeah, I'm just going to answer one non-question before I get to those. Speaking of methodologies, like you brought up, we just to be sure that people watching the video are clear about this. There is the older Agile methodology, Agile development, and there's the Agile Manifesto, and that's been with us, I don't know, what, 12, 15 years now, and there are lots of especially large organizations with agile development teams, but they're not doing BI. They're typically writing a lot of code It is procedural code. The procedures typically automate business process and quite often automate transactional systems. And it's very code heavy.
Right.
And there was a reaction years ago to try and streamline a lot of the code-based methodologies. If you think about things like code review, peer review, if you think about the way that code is promoted from development to test to production, and all the almost bureaucratic processes that go with that, so a lot of our brethren in operational applications kind of came up with their own methodology.
Yep.
And a lot of people will push back and say, no, Agile's not really a method. It's really a set of goals. And I'll go with that, and let's don't belabor that too much, but the goals are very relevant to us, even though we're not doing the same kind of heavy hand coding they're doing. Certain amount of hand coding in data warehousing, yeah, sure, but nowhere near what those guys are doing. So if we just look at some of the goals, they came up with the word Agile. They just want to be more nimble in their work.
Right.
And in a lot of ways, Agile's the wrong word. I think what we're all looking for is just to speed things up. And a lot of times, also with methodologies, a lot of times people say, well, method's great, but I'm a businessman or woman, I don't really care what the guys in the cubes do,
Right,
as long as
sure.
they crank it out.
Sure.
Well, actually you should care, because, especially in business intelligence, because what the men and women are doing in the cubes takes a long time. And I mean, we've all heard the classic complaint, man, I just want a new report. Right. Or even simpler, I just want a revision of an existing report. And it took 6 weeks for me to even get a response, another 6 weeks for kind of a review, a third 6 weeks for approval. 6 months out, I'm still waiting for this report. Where did it come from? And it's no joke. The pace of business just accelerates. So the business, it's really a need for the business people to get the products of business intelligence sooner to them, right. Because by with the pace of business, especially the way the recession drove all kinds of changes, even the recovery is driving changes because companies are trying to realign to the new reality, the new economy. 6 months later, the thing you asked for is not really all that relevant anymore.
Exactly.
So it's really, instead of Agile, we're just trying to deliver a product, a useful product sooner.
Sure.
And this is true whether you're in operational applications or you're just trying to create that report, or you're the data warehouse architect or data warehouse modeler and you're trying to get new tables, new data structures ready in the data warehouse. If you're the data integration specialist, you're trying to get more interfaces in place, trying to get more ETL jobs established and ready to go. That's the thing, see, business intelligence, data warehousing, we talk about it like it's one big monolith, but really it's different layers of discipline. So there are different men and women who do different things there. In a lot of ways, it's hard to talk about Agile BI because you're going to have to do different things to speed up development if you're at the, say, the data warehouse and modeling level as opposed to the data integration level.
Well, what you just said, I think, is right, because while all these people are off doing their knitting, the market's down 600 points and plans are getting canceled and people are scratching their heads, about tomorrow. But I'm working on my project. I'm doing my business. So to sort of Paul's point about sort of looking at this from different corners of the organization or different activities, maybe even, I think you've sort of identified that there are different areas in Agile that are easier or harder to do.
Yes.
Maybe they're focal points going forward. What about that?